You know what time it is.
What's up, beer people?
If you heard it on the hashtag beer time, it's true.
It must be true.
It's true. It is fact. Please, won't you name one of your beers cart horse?
And just do something terrible. Just shit beer.
Stick your finger in there every now and again.
Stir it with the sock.
Every show, it feels like my first show.
Every show is a new adventure.
Having some good conversation here, Mr. Troy.
Did I make sense there? I think I did.
I love them all.
Are we off air?
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Hashtag Beer Time with me, T-Bone Troy. We are on episode number 27. Woohoo! In this episode, we have Greg from Banana Jam, aka Afro-Caribbean Brewing Company. Now, Greg has been in charge of Banana Jam Cafe for, I'd say, more than 20 years. And it's only recently, in the last few years, that he's introduced the Afro-Caribbean part to his setup. We get to chat to Greg about all things exciting in his world, like his new brewery, his new setup, growlers, canning, and it was actually his birthday when we had him on the show. So you'll forgive him, he's a little bit excited, but this is Greg, and that's why we love him. We also had a very special guest, Roly Beer Geek. Roly is sensational on social media, and it was an absolute pleasure to get his opinion and thoughts and to try some beer in the studio. We also had Murray, co-host Murray, in the studio. Fantastic to have him. And then we're also joined by a surprise guest. I won't say who he is, but he joined us halfway through the show after his French lessons. So it was a jam-packed studio and a lot of banter, a lot of chats, a lot of drinking, and it was a really fun show. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Let me know what you think. Cheers. Let's get in very tight in here. Okay. I think we're done with the selfies. Let's go on to...
No, I love selfies.
Let's go into some beers.
Selfies.
Greg, you've bought us a growler. Is that a 1 litre growler?
Yeah.
A mini growler.
What's in that growler? And what is a growler?
Oh, you guys talk a lot. Okay, so I brought some Hop Session. It's our flagship from Banana Jam, Afro-Caribbean. It is I do not want to say session IPA, but I suppose some people call it that. It's our Hoppy Pale Ale.
Prefer Hoppy Pale Ale.
Hoppy Pale Ale, yeah. So it's 4.5%. We use a lot of Equinaut. We use Cascade, Centennial, a little bit of Galena, and it packs all the punch of an IPA, and you can still walk in a straight line after 2 liters.
Is 2 liters on the dot?
I've tested this 2 liters, and I'm still anything after 2 liters it'll start wobbling a bit, and this is what it sounds like when your growler opens.
Oh!
Sure. I'm going to... Mazza, your voice is coming up incredibly sexy and strong, so I'm just going to move it back a little bit.
That's good. We like that. Oh! So I think there's... If I may, I'm going to bring up something that I actually spoke to someone about last night, and that's the session IPA versus Hoppy Pale Ale, and where the line's drawn, where they are not the same thing.
Let's throw Roly straight into the deep end. Get his on this show we want your personal opinion.
Yeah.
Well, the show is very professional, but we want your personal opinion. We don't want what the book. We don't want the only for this for now. We don't want your we don't want what the rule book says. But in your opinion, what's the difference between, as Mazza said, a Hoppy Pale Ale versus a session IPA?
I think, personal opinion, because I think it's going to differ by person, but for me, it's sort of like the distinction between a porter and a stout. I think depending on who you talk to, you're going to get different answer for the same beer. But me personally, I think the obsession for me definitely falls Hoppy Pale Ale rather than session IPA, but that is, I don't know. I think it's a personal palate because slightly more bitter for me, a little less sweet, probably more session IPA, a little bit more, sweetness, balanced with the bitterness, probably more Hoppy Pale Ale.
I would say that it's maybe even a choice of words or a marketing ploy. You might have some people. Let's take Afro-Caribbean for example. They love making IPAs, and they want their IPA drinker to maybe have a more sessionable one, but someone else might not. Some of their customer base might not like pale ales. I'm just giving a really generic example. If you call something an IPA.
No, to be honest, I think. Look, is there even a style as session IPA? Have they actually put it into the BJCP?
Or hoppy pale ale?
No. Well, pale ale.
Yeah.
I think in definition in the BJCP, you can have a hoppy pale ale. It still falls under pale ale, and it's just got more hops in it. No, but again, you don't have to have these IBUs are only 27 or something, so they don't have to be high. It's just got a lot more hop aroma on it. I think, to be honest, session IPA is that I need to sell my pale ale. It's not selling so well, so let's slap IPA on it, because what is the best selling beer at the moment?
Exactly.
IPA.
Okay, so it is a marketing or
it's marketing.
strategy.
I think it's the same. People are going to hate me for this. It's the same as craft beer. I've always said that people use the term craft beer because they don't have enough money for a big marketing budget. Yeah. So, we had to find a differentiation. So we went, okay, this is craft. It's handmade. It's this and it's that. But to be honest, a lot of craft breweries are as big as some of the macro breweries in other countries.
Yeah.
So,
but to be fair, your hop session name does a lot of. It combines hoppy pale ale and session IPA together.
Yeah.
It's.
And I still can't spell it.
At least we can drink it.
Cheers.
It's delicious. It's nice and juicy. It's really easy drinking.
I think whether we call it a session IPA or hoppy pale ale, we can all agree it's
hoppy.
What's the age of this recipe, or when was the first time you brewed it?
So this was originally brewed back when we still had the craft beer project, and we were working on back then before the brewery and before we were doing anything like that. We were trying to promote craft beer generally. So we had a little website, we were pushing a lot of events, just trying to get people interested in craft beer. And we brewed this for the first time with Boston Brewery. It was still called Hop Session, and it was under the Craft Beer Project logo. And I think, did it go into the mixed case? I know it went to the mixed case as Hop Session from us, but we did a big push on it. We tried to do something different that I don't think Boston had done a really big dry hop beer yet, so we did a lot of work with them, and just it came out then, like I said, as a Craft Beer Project Hop Session. And then obviously when we moved on and got our own brewery, we took it with us, and Sean Duthie and myself changed it a little bit. It has changed along the line.
Sean Duthie or Duthie?
Just
How did you say?
Actually, under my phone it's Sean Beer.
I think you're also Greg Beer.
For a lot of
Mary
people.
Beer.
But yeah, no, I think we so what we did is
Beer.
we've changed the hops on the nose quite a bit. Originally, there was only Cascade and Centennial in there, and we have tweaked it a little bit since then. The Centennial last year I didn't think was that great, and we weren't getting a lot in the nose, so we switched it up for Simcoe for a bit, and then now a lot of the dry hopping is the new Equinor, which really gives you like
So
a
just
pineapple juicy. Yeah.
Just go through those names again, because maybe there's some people listening that have absolutely no idea what are those names.
It's definitely changed the last time I had
Hops.
it. The last time I had it was in the studio.
Yeah,
And
so
it's definitely-
big changes. So the last time you had
Delicious.
it was just Centennial and Cascade, which, to be honest, is almost like the same hop.
So
You
what
know,
is this? What is Centennial and Cascade? Where they're from?
So they're both from the States. Cascade, Centennial is like the Cascade hop on steroids, really. So
Got higher
we
alpha
tried.
acids.
It was almost like a single hop, but really, if you think about it, because it was just like two hops that are really, really similar. But like I said, we just weren't getting good nose out of it. The bitterness was great, and the mouthfeel and aroma, but that big stinky nose that you get now from the Equinor is a lot better.
I'm going to ask you a really basic question. Why would you use American hops as opposed to South African hops?
I suppose hops is like wine. You know, where the grapes come from are going to give you a lot of different aromas, a lot of different characters. Where I prefer that like tropical pineapple-y, grapefruit and things like that you get out of North American hops. You know, that's what I like. You know, then some people like the earthy hops from Europe. They're nice, but for me, I'm like, with a chef background, I like that punch of flavor. Someone said to me the other day that good, like I'm a poor beer taster because I like too much flavor. I think a lot of very good beer or very good tasters don't need a lot of flavor. They can pick out a lot in a very subtle dish or beer and things like that. Hey, listen, you only live once. I like flavor.
Why not? Yeah.
I think Rolly agrees with me there.
100%.
Well, there's a time and a place. I always, people, whenever they ask me what my favorite beer is, there's always, it comes down to, I don't have a beer where I say, this is the beer that I'll drink for the rest of my life if I had one choice. If I did have to do that, I would have to come up with something. But depending on how you feel at that time, like maybe everything's just right for a more malty beer, and maybe it's more right for a super hoppy, punchy beer, and maybe sometimes it's just right for like a really chilled, crisp lager.
Yeah.
So it's all time and a place.
On that, let's move to something. I mean, I know I hate asking the question, "What's your favorite beer?" But let's ask that question. Besides Afro-Caribbean Session IPA, what is your favorite hoppy beer?
Oh, I was going to say Castle Light. Just kidding. Okay, maybe not. Favorite hoppy beer?
Yeah, and it could be local, could be international.
Local right now, Copenhagen.
Copenhagen. Okay, that's
and I think it's because I had it like yesterday or the day before. Hopefully JC's listening and he'll like look after me, send me something for my birthday.
It would only be right that
internationally, I can definitely tell you now that one of my favorite breweries bringing out hoppy beers is what are they called? New York. I pulled the blank.
Not Brooklyn.
Damn it! No, not Brooklyn. Other half in Brooklyn and New York. They are literally smashing out a new hoppy beer once a week.
Really?
Yeah.
Have we had Other Half on the show?
I don't think so.
Very good.
Really?
All cans.
Favorite hoppy beer? Beers?
It's difficult. For me, it was a battle of styles rather than a battle of beers last year. But right up until the end of the year, one of the beers that stood out for me, and it's awkward because I thought you were going to ask this question, and I came up with my answer before I knew Greg was on the show. So honestly, one of the beers that stood out for me last year was your Pina Colada New England IPA, simply because the New England IPAs sort of caught my attention last year. I hadn't had a lot of them previously, so that whole sort of very juicy, cloudy beer for me was very interesting. And I thought yours stood out because it was, first of all, I had a lot of it, but I enjoyed it because I could have a lot of it. It was very drinkable, and if Greg's listening, hopefully he sorts me out.
We are actually brewing that again tomorrow for Claret.
The look on your face when you said that was genius.
Keep it tidy. Keep it tidy.
I honestly, it's really tough because I had a beer the other day. A mate brought me back a beer from New York, from Magic Hat, and it was their Magic Hat. I think it was called Not So Pale Ale or something. It was the number 9, and I wouldn't say it's the best beer I've ever had, but it was just it had notes in it that I'd never picked up in a hoppy beer before, and for me that was tough because something like the New England IPA, the Copenhagen, it's an insane beer, and it's incredible in every way, and I'd say locally that's my favorite hoppy beer, but internationally it's so hard to say because there's just so many things that I haven't had that I know experiencing it would just be mind-blowing.
Yeah.
And it sounds so lame to say, but if you're if you're a beer nerd and you know what the potential, if you've had something like this, the potential that you can get from it is just huge, and I want to try it all.
I must say,
I don't know what
I tend to go for the multi beers first if I'm overseas. That's just my default. But you just reminded me.
We've had some great ones on
Larry
the show.
Turner, when he was on the show, he brought
that Sequence Ale was
from Virginia. He bought a beer that was it was delicious.
Oh, yeah,
I'm,
yeah.
I'm struggling to.
I would
to
definitely
remember.
say one of the best I've had is on the show, and I think it was with Murray Turner.
Yeah.
But he also bought that Dogfish Head Sea Quench Ale, which wouldn't fall under the hoppy beers, but it was one of the beers that, if you look on Instagram, there's all these crazy beers being made. Like South Africa, we getting into like this different stuff.
Yeah.
But that Sea Quench Ale to be produced on a huge scale like that, and for it to just be so incredible. It's like those ones you mentioned that you guys had the other day, that lime sour or something. It was just completely different. I'd never had it. It was incredibly tasty. It had notes that I'd never had before in a beer.
But
was
did it have
incredible.
drinkability?
Yeah. Just
that's
smash
important.
over and
Drinkability
over
after
and
the third
over.
sip. My favorite local beer at the moment. Last year it was Juicy Lucy.
But hoppy beer.
Sorry, what did I say?
Hoppy beer. You said local beer.
Local hoppy beer.
Local hoppy beer, Juicy Lucy. I think one that's going to explode this year is the Little Wolf Hoppy Wheat.
Just bought a 6-pack an hour ago.
Ooh.
Damn it. And you didn't bring it with.
It's good. I had
for
2 last
tonight.
night.
And that's obviously Stefan.
When you don't
was-
taste anything for later after your pub crawl.
That was Stefan from Little Wolf was on the show about 2 weeks ago. And then internationally, yeah, like Mazza said, there's so many out there. But the one that springs to mind was a beer from Toronto called Naughty Neighbor. It was a pale ale, but it was, if you compared it to any South African beer, it was definitely like an IPA scale. And that was just
Special.
special. It had a cartoon of one of those pin-up girls on the can, which helped.
So do you know what I noticed? And I think this is where the South African consumer needs to get a bit more adventurous and push the bottle stores and things like that to maybe stock a few more hoppy beers. I was in Spa an hour ago, and I was like, maybe I'll get some beers to go with the Castle Lights I was drinking later. And honestly, there were out of a 5 meter, 6 meter long 3-tier shelf, there were maybe 4 IPAs that were probably hoppy enough for me to go, that's a good hoppy beer. Yeah. And it was Devil's Peak, Little Wolf. What else was there? And there were Franschhoek Brewing Company had an OPA, I think is quite hoppy. I've been told it's quite good. And I think there was something else. But honestly, there wasn't a lot. When I went, I'm going to go out and buy some hoppy beers.
Yeah.
There weren't a lot to choose from, to be honest.
But look. Let's look at this, and we're talking about different beers like sour beers and fruity beers and new styles of beers coming out. Let's put ourselves 2 years ago in a Spa. How many IPAs do you think we would have found?
Probably as many as you could see today in that Spa.
Yeah, but I don't think Spa did beer 2 years ago. No, but if they don't, you're right. They're not. There's a lot.
What I'm trying to point out is, if we look back 2 years to where we are now, we've grown considerably. If we just look at the hoppy category,
no, we haven't. Compared to honestly,
I'm talking about
the quality has got better. Yes, but adventurous beers on the shelf, they are no more or less ready than they were 2 years ago.
So adventurous beers, just establish that.
Like
a fruit beer.
Well,
sour beer.
If I went to that Spa right now and took away all the lagers, stouts, and pale ales, there would be like 5 beers left on the shelf.
Yeah.
But really? I'll put that down to the consumer, because the consumer, they only want to stock the shelves of what the consumer is actually buying.
That's exactly.
And then that also goes back to the brewer, because the brewer is saying, well, shit, if I've got to make my money, I've got to produce a beer that everyone drinks.
Yeah.
The consumer, I'll have a different batch every now and then while I do something crazy. But if you're doing that on like constantly here, our consumers are like, what the hell is that? They can't do it. So the bigger guys, they do the small batches, and it's like a once-off. They've still got their bread and butter, and it flies in, but the consumers don't want that.
Yeah.
I know, because I'm going through a big sales push now, and you go to places and you're like, let me sit down and do a tasting with you, and they're like, ooh, pale ale.
Because a lot
That's
of
quite
guys...
hectic. And you're like, it's not. Just...
It's because a lot of guys are still buying cases of Castle Light and then a 6-pack of Little Wolf.
Yeah, okay. Damn it.
Directed.
That was rough. That was rough for a guy's birthday.
You've got a very unique perspective, and you've nailed it, because from your outlook, you have got beers, and you've got the people, the cream of the craft beer drinking crop coming to Banana Jam.
No, we actually it's a little bit different. We still our biggest single unit selling beer is still Castle Light.
Yeah.
Second biggest is Jack Black Lager. Funny enough, third is Jack Black Lager and CBC Amber Weiss.
Yeah.
Take second place for the single unit biggest sales. Craft beer obviously in total at Banana Jam outsells and I actually think the more exciting beers actually outsell the lagers, but because we've got 30 taps, you don't see any single beer selling skyrocketing.
But you at least still see them move. Like if you had to put a beer like that on a shelf, it wouldn't move.
The first time we brewed Pina Colada in New England, it lasted 2 days. The second time we brewed a much bigger batch, and that lasted 5 days.
Yeah.
So now we've doubled the batch size again now. So honestly, it was really interesting to see new hoppy beers.
Yeah.
When people do bring something new out, you look at Devil's Peak and all their hoppy beers they bring out. They don't even last a day in the bottle store.
Yeah, a couple hours.
So there are people out there trying the new things, and I think it's important to get more new stuff and more hoppy stuff and more sours out there, so that we're drinking more beer.
I think so.
I don't know, what the hell are we doing? We're 25 minutes and we've had one bloody glass here. Ooh.
Okay, should we just go on to let's drink all the Afro-Caribbean stuff?
Let's drink
except for that really strong one.
Except for the aged
But
one.
I agree with you. There needs to be more.
This
But
is
it comes down to the consumer. Everyone who's drinking that Devil's Peak release that comes out the blocks, they are queuing. They are the people that are craft beer fans, and they drink at Banana Jam. They go to all the beer establishments, and they know like Pina Colada, New England IPA. If you had to mention that word to anybody else who doesn't know anything about beer, they would not know what's going on.
Like this, open it close to the mic.
Come on, man.
I'm struggling here. Ooh. Oh, it was a fight.
Wow. Okay. I enjoyed that discussion. What are we drinking now, Mr. Greg?
Okay, Heart of Darkness. I am 44, so my memory is slowly degrading.
Thank you.
It was either last year or the year before. Sean and myself went over to London to brew with Witherspoons, and we managed to hook up with the guys from Lane Brewing Company and Sam Brooks, and they really looked after us, showed us a good time, went to a couple of beer festivals. We really found it hard to purchase beer with them around. We just kept getting brought beer after beer. It was really great. And then after we had done our brew with Witherspoons and that, we spent a day with Lane Brewing Company and brewed a
Lane
with an N, Lane Brewing Company. And I'm going to say it, we brewed a black session IPA.
So how is this different now from your other IPA besides adding black malt?
No. So, there's quite a bit of difference.
Okay.
There's black malt, there's chocolate. Obviously, IPAs are IPAs. It's, but like I said, we called it a black session IPA just because we had a hoppy pale ale, so we thought, why the hell not? But again, it's I suppose you can't really call it a pale ale, can you? It's not very pale.
I'm a big fan, and it is very sessionable.
That's delicious.
Again, it's only 4.1%, so we've gone light there. We use about 15% chocolate malt, so we use a lot of chocolate malt, a lot. But we only put it into the sparge. Okay. So we try to.
There's none of that astringency.
Yeah, we don't want any astringency in that, but we still. I like that coffee chocolate finish.
There's still a bit of a. What are the IBUs on it?
The IBUs on this, I think, are fairly high. They're about 37.
You get that. It's definitely not astringent, and it definitely with a 15% roasted malt in the grain ball, it definitely doesn't feel like that or have that bite.
I guess if we put it in when we're sparging, so you don't.
Yeah.
It doesn't sit there very long, maybe 20 minutes, and we're just looking for color and a little bit of. And a little bit of that roastiness to give it a difference,
We've got the fire guy testing the drill, so if things start raining on us,
Oh, that's
Brilliant.
exciting. Just cover the beer.
Craig, for the less educated amongst us,
Hands up.
sparging, where does that happen in the brewing process?
Great question.
Ooh, just before the middle.
Just after the second stage.
Yeah. No, so obviously,
Which
you
is
know,
the Famafian
you're rinsing your grain. So, you know, you're trying to maximize your the sugars that you're converting and getting out of the malt. So after mashing in and converting all your starches to sugar, you're going to transfer that wort, or for people who don't know what wort is, sticky liquid.
Beer juice.
Beer juice. Yeah, we're going to transfer that out, but then obviously there's still a bit left over, so you're going to run some extra, I'll say water, but we don't call that liquor. People think, you put vodka in your beer? No. So we're going to run a bit more water through there, trying to get out as much of that sugar as possible to transfer to the boil, and we'll just sprinkle that grain on top, that chocolate malt on top, as we're rinsing, just so it pulls a bit of color out of there and things like that. You don't want to convert any more of that starch to sugar there. You don't want to pull any tannins out of that grain. So we're just going to throw it on top.
It's a great homebrewing tip that I learned when I started brewing a few years ago, and that's exactly it. I just added the last 15 minutes of that mash session. You add your dark.
You can cold steep, like we've done it before, where you take your dark malt and you put it in like a muslin cloth or a bag, and you steep it in cold water over, like cold or brewing liquor overnight, and it extracts enough color out of that, and then it almost takes, because it's cold, it's like cold steeping coffee to...
It's the same. I was
Yeah,
just about to
same
say,
sort of
the
thing.
exact same thing with coffee when you want
takes
to
it
make
out and things like that.
the coffee stout. Okay, let's get some
Music.
Well, okay, we can.
I
get
was
some music.
hoping for some Zach Brown band. If you have it.
We might still have some old country music, but no, I was actually going to say let's get back on track with this delicious black IPA.
I finished mine.
You, Damn.
It was 2 to
That's why I brought 2 bottles.
Guys, we've got quite a few things happening coming up.
Don't open it.
Don't open it, yeah, don't.
It was so delicious, but we've got a lot
I'll
of
save
beer.
it for sure.
Save it for, yeah. We've got quite a bit coming up in the next few weeks, and I think maybe now's a little good time to talk about what's coming up. I think one of the big things that's happening next week, there are 2 things that are actually happening next week. The first thing is the Craft Beer Association, which is meeting next week to discuss plans for 2018, which is quite exciting, and it's going to be cool to let the members or the brewers of South Africa know what the plans are. So that's going to happen early next week. And then on Friday, National Beer Day, which is a fairly new thing. I think it was the first one was last year, if I'm correct.
Is it this Friday?
Yeah.
No,
This is the Friday.
it's the first, second, or third.
It's
the
the-
third.
The 3rd, yeah.
Is it
I was going to say, is
it
it the
Friday or
3rd
is it
already?
the Saturday? Isn't it normally the first Saturday in February?
It's
You are probably right. Rolly knows more than us because he
No.
listens and reads.
No, Roddy just prefers drinking on Saturday rather than
Yes,
Friday.
it's the first.
What?
It's the
Why not
first.
Friday?
It's the first
Well,
Saturday of
I
February.
start on the Friday evening.
Yeah.
Because I need to go to my job to pay for the booze.
Do you have a job?
That's what they tell me.
How did you
Yeah.
get here then? Hi,
That's
boss. I'm just going to lunch and drink some beer on the radio. Shh. Don't listen to Two Oceans Vibe.
Don't
whatever you
blow
do.
my cover, Greg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. Schmerlin Crossen.
Christ, it's good.
Greg, what's your plan for next week Friday? Or is that next week Saturday? Or have I kind of put you on the spot there?
No, not at all.
What's been on Jam Africa Caribbean doing?
So we are launching. We've done it once before. Not launching the beer. We're launching a golden stout.
A golden stout.
is that a-
Golden stout.
So what's in that golden stout? There's a little bit of coffee in there.
There's coffee. There's cocoa nibs. There's smoked malt.
So what's the
There-
difference between golden and a white stout? It's just
It's all in marketing, Troy.
Marketing.
It's all words.
So we brewed
Last year he released
so that Barry does. So that Barry doesn't get upset.
Came under some racial tension under the White Stars. Golden
So you
Star.
can't stay there anymore. No, so we brewed it with Atlantic Storm. Hi Cam. Hi Cam's mom.
Always funny.
We did it once before.
Can't wait to hear that story.
Oh, jeez, it's going to be good. Suspense.
You get to hear it at the last 5 minutes of the show.
Yeah, you have to listen all
listening.
Yeah. Then we have a beer and food pairing platter.
Ooh.
So we've taken 3 of our beers, we've paired them up with 3 of our
Meals.
Well, but just little snacks, like little tappers and beer platter. What we try to do is, there's a dessert in there, there's like some...
Any hints and clues about the beers or the meals?
Yeah, no, it's not a secret. It's I know that Hopsession will be on there with our buffalo wings. We have our chocolate porter. Chucky Porter on there with one of our, I think it's our chocolate, we've got a chocolate dessert, what is it? It's like a chocolate brownie pie. Yeah, and then I can't remember what the middle one is. And then we also it might be our bacon chili ale with a bacon popper. But the idea is to get people to realize that I think one of the biggest things when growing up with just drinking like lagers is that you end up getting to the dessert part of the meal, and dessert and Castle Light do not go well together, especially if it's chocolate. So it's trying to get to people to understand that beer and food go really well together, like beer and wine. The only difference is we're not snobs.
Well,
Why?
most of us.
Quick question.
Yes.
Why
And we've got half-price beers.
why aren't there enough buffalo wings, American
In
style
South
wings
Africa?
in South Africa?
It's a very good question. Very good question.
Thank you.
It's
And,
just
and
not...
are your wings, strictly speaking, American style?
They're more of a Caribbean.
No, well, do you know why we did buffalo wings?
No.
Because if you go to the Caribbean, there is very seldom a bar on the beach that doesn't do 25-cent wings on happy hour every day. It's one of those things, the Caribbean has got a lot of Caribbean food and things like that, but they've got a lot of, especially like the BVI and the American Virgin Islands and Barbados and that, they've got a lot of American influence. So I like to bring a bit of that in as well. That's why we did buffalo wings. I don't know why people don't do buffalo wings. It's like...
Yeah, delicious.
It's whenever someone goes to the States and they come back, they have this
Buffalo
wings
wings.
obsession.
Fetish.
Yeah.
Google every type of recipe.
Yeah, they come back with tons of sauces and bastings
and we just don't have enough of it. We need more chicken
No, but
wings.
do you know what I think it is? I think we've got a braai culture. So we do braai stuff. And they've done American
fry.
stuff, deep fry and things like that. So we've got competing with our own culture.
True.
Although I do
Good point.
I make some tasty chicken wings on the Weaver.
Do you know that what I just did? I just made
We
an
bring it.
amazing Thai chicken wing sauce for this evening. But this is not a show about chicken wings, is it?
It's
actually
not,
about any-
ladies and gentlemen. And in case
And
you're
on-
wondering, you are listening to Hashtag Beer Time.
Hashtag
And
wing time.
Hashtag chicken
time.
wing time.
Chicken
And on
wings.
that note, it's a great place to have a little song break. And we just so happen to have a song about chicken. And it is Zach Brown Band. So we'll see you guys in 3, 4, 5 minutes time. We'll see you after the short break. Ciao, ciao.
Goodbye.
I thought you were throwing that at me. Guys, it is Hashtag Beer Time with me, T-Bone Troy, the most underrated professional DJ in all of South Africa.
Hashtag truth.
Hashtag I only speak the truth.
These
Guys-
guys, salty cracks.
It's beer time. Thank you very much for joining us. Greg from Afro Caribbean Brewing Company, Rolly Beer Geek,
Me.
and co-host, absolute extraordinary, Mazza.
Me.
Oh, you almost nailed it.
Guys,
gonna
what?
get
Mazza, you're on beer duty.
I got a beer.
What? In fact, I'm going to be on beer duty. Let's.
So Troy, besides beers today, are we going to talk about what's happening in the next couple of months in beer?
We can. Should we have a California wheat?
Yeah.
This is a Berliner Beer, which I imagine is the brewery. California wheats. What I like about this is it's got two dolphins jumping into the sun on the cover. This is, I have absolutely no idea what it says on the back because it's all in German.
So we have a German California wheat.
It's like having a South African California wheat.
Except for the fact that the Belgians have so many fine beer styles of their own that they felt the need to go to the Americans to imitate them imitating the Belgians.
So this was bought by the fabulous
Inception.
Lauren.
Beerception.
Ooh.
Beerception.
I have absolutely no idea what to expect, but I'm expecting wheaty, fruity flavors.
Dolphins jumping into the sun. That's very Afro-Caribbean.
Greg, I'd like to see.
What would you like to see, Troy?
I'd like to see you label one of your beers with some
This
dolphins.
has got a lagery smell.
This does not bode well for this beer.
Let's give it a little.
I'm
that doesn't
going to
sound
pour
very
a
Californian or
small
wheaty.
sip.
It's not a wheat beer at all.
Well,
more
first,
like a-
first of all, it doesn't have enough
You
of
said it's
the
a-
unfiltered cloudiness.
To be honest, I think it's not far off. I've had a lot of American wheats, and they're not as nearly as exciting as you think they would be. I think that that the hoppy wheat from Little Wolf ruined it for us because that is such an amazing beer, but it's got a lot of hops in it. Where I would say I don't even think American wheat is a style. That's
That's just a California common with wheat
Yeah.
in it.
pretty much. But that's what American wheat is.
Wasn't there another?
It's just a
Just with wheat.
It's a wheat beer. Yeah. It's
Wasn't there another brewery that did an hoppy American wheat beer?
Hey, keep it tidy there, Ronnie. Yes, we did, and we did not put too much hops in it.
Was it
But,
a session IPA?
It was a session American wheat.
Hoppy American session wheat.
Yes, that's what it was. No, funny enough, we originally brewed it, and it was very hoppy. Then we brewed it again, and we took a lot of the hops out, and it was actually a little bit boring. And the famous Lucy Korn complained a lot. And you know we do
Careful
in
what you say.
when-
She
I know
is
she's
pretty, she is
listening.
pretty famous.
Always
Yeah.
listening.
Always listening Korn. So we hopped it up again for her, but not too much. So now we
Just
found a
for
nice
her.
balance, just for her.
That's special.
Yeah, no, but she is a special person,
Very, yeah.
very special.
Lucy Korn, the Donald Trump of the Southeasters.
Yes.
Whoa, jeez,
Well,
that is rough.
She's
That
she's the current president, isn't she?
Wow, Donald Trump.
Donald
Whoa.
Trump is the current president.
I said that to her last
Well, it's either
night.
that or the current Jacob Zuma.
Ronnie, I don't think you're going to be
Wasn't
invited to a beer event ever again in
I've
your
never
life for
seen
that
that.
comment.
I'm burning bridges as quickly as I can.
Oh wow, jeez, you're on fire.
Guys.
I think there's more fire in that comment than Donald Trump's hair.
I don't know, maybe not.
Guys, this beer, it doesn't wow the socks off me, but you know what? I suppose if it does the trick, if it's a session beer, it is what it is. Simple wheaty beer. Mazza, what are your thoughts?
Yeah.
You can tell we're not blown away by this, but maybe it is because we've just had some quite intense IPAs.
Yeah.
So maybe we shouldn't have anything like this. Okay, so I've just devised a plan. We're not going to have any sweetie session more beers, and I do have some in here, but we're going to move on to something.
We can
more.
save them from Sean. He's from Canada.
Yeah.
I mean, nasty to Canadians.
Canada.
Oh yes. Okay. Wait. I've got something to
Hang
talk
on.
about.
Yes.
There was
Southeasters.
silence there for at least
We
5
were-
seconds.
yeah.
Oh, that's fine.
I was thinking it's.
Golden
I'm old. I'm
Yeah.
Takes me a while to think.
I was also just like looking at my
Yeah,
beer
the problem
glass.
with radio
It was
is
a pregnant silence waiting for us to sort of...
no. The problem with radio is you couldn't smell my brain working. There's a lot of smoke in the room right now.
Talk to us, Greg.
So, the Southeasters. Speaking of the famous Lucy Korn,
We can use-
yeah, she's stepping down as the president, and there'll be a whole lot of new things happening. On our side, The next Southeast is at Banana Jam, which is the day after Valentine's Day. So if you'll go
Is it not before? Is it not before?
No, it's after. It's
Okay.
Thursday.
Okay.
Thursday, the day after Valentine's Day.
on the committee.
Yeah, I know.
Don't put him
Don't
on marketing and event organizer. We are doing a wart challenge. And that's not for old people with things growing on their noses.
Disappointing.
Yeah, we will be brewing a base beer. We really want to get new Southeasters in there. So we want to brew a base beer. We want to get people to come and collect that base beer in their fermenters. I think we'll have Wade from Plato Yeast. He'll be supplying yeast. We will have the guys from...
Is that brew shop?
Ages Tough. Yes, that brew shop. What's it called?
Pierre Guevara?
Pierre Guevara, that's the one. They'll be providing those little 5-litre carboy fermenting things and the hops and everything like that. And then you'll be able to come and collect the wort. We've taken all the work out of it. You take it home, you ferment it, you add the yeast you want, you add the hops you want. And then a month and a half later on the Southeasters Summerfest, we'll have a little competition to see who did what with that wort challenge.
Fantastic.
So this is basically for anyone who is interested in brewing but doesn't have the kind of setup or system.
Yeah,
they can pop in.
It is a what's it called when you get your syrup? It's called, you either have all grain or you have.
So this will be an all grain,
but it's like
wort.
getting the kits.
Yeah,
it's like getting the kits.
So, but we've taken all the work out of it for you.
Yeah,
all you have to do is add your yeast. So it's about picking the yeast, picking the hops you want, and then just maintaining and looking after that fermentation process.
Yeah.
Which to me is probably the most important part of the
just be careful not to knock your microphone.
Oh, I'm still knocking microphones and things.
Well, that's very, very interesting and good news for me, since I happen to have one of those Pierre Guevara fermenters that hasn't been used yet. So,
and they were telling me those little 5-litre fermenters, they've got a clip-on swing top cap for it. So you can ferment in there, then you can prime it with your priming sugar and do the carbonation in the same vessel.
But
and then bring it along.
But can you? What about all the yeast that's settled?
No, so what you do is you would ferment it out, then you would transfer it out, and then you would clean your vessel, put it back in there again, prime it, and seal it up.
Just going for a hell of a lot of floaties.
No, we don't like floaties.
No. Oh, well, no, I'm going to be the day after Valentine's Day.
I'm just trying to get this.
Are you sure it's not the day before?
No,
guys, stop knocking your.
Okay, we're sorry. I haven't touched anything.
We have a beer.
Is it Murray again, or is it us?
We can have a beer.
Can we also? Yeah.
Greg Murray, should I ask you, when is Southeastern Summerfest? End of March.
23rd of
7
March.
6.
Let me see. I've got it here.
And it's a Jack Black this year.
It's a Jack Black.
So it's moved from the
Found this all out yesterday.
traditional. I think it was always held at SAB
It's
Newlands.
the weekend of 23rd, 24th, 25th. I don't know which day it is. Friday is the
Sunday.
23rd. Okay, then it's the
on the
25th.
Sunday?
It is on the Sunday.
But you never know; things change.
This is one thing I
We've
did.
got to keep us guessing.
Let's try and
It's on the 25th.
pull the show back together. I feel it's
No.
Unraveling?
it's unraveling, but I mean this happens every time.
Do
Do you know what brings us back?
3 beers in.
A beer.
A beer.
Oh, true.
Really? Quick shout out to the Tasting League.
Yeah, this is a quick shout out to the Tasting League.
Yes, please.
Yeah, Tasting League guys. I know this month's captain, Brad Berg from That Last Drop.
Champion.
Doing a fantastic job. If you haven't checked out the challenge for this month, hop onto the Twitter feed or the Instagram of Tasting League. Take a look, see if you can better the times that have been set there.
The down.
It's the down competition. I myself am not partaking since my down skills are terrible.
There's a whole lot of gadgets and
yeah,
trickery coming in.
I don't know. It feels to me like we've taken the sport of downs and it's sort of the straws and the thingamajigs are, I don't know, I preferred it when downing was pure and bottle and lips.
Okay, so we're talking about the competition.
Bottom and lips. What? Sorry, I wasn't concentrating there.
Your 44-year-old ears are obviously starting to bottle.
All that hair.
We're talking obviously about a monthly competition which the League of Beers runs, and it's on Twitter, and you need to get involved. There's a thing called the Tasting League. So if you just search for Tasting League, you can see what the competition is. And I mean, it usually involves winning beer, which is not to be frowned upon.
Yeah, it's generally vouchers for Liga beers, so you can put that towards either a mixed case of your choice or even a monthly subscription if you want. Which
Just more clinging.
More clinging. What are we drinking here? We're drinking a Doppelbock. Does anyone want to have a guess? Or I think you guys have spoken enough. I can't believe I'm going to say it. Maybe I should speak more.
Lager, right?
The Celebrator Doppelbock, which, yes, Greg, you said it's actually a lager style. If we hold it up to the light and we look at it, it's actually incredibly dark. It's almost black, but it's almost like a purple hue. Got a bit of like a
little bit of red in there.
Red.
Like that
maroon.
hair that Lucy Corn's got.
And
This brewery has been going
ooh.
Since 1878.
1878. It's got a very old school,
Very traditional.
logo or label with
Get it up to the camera there.
with some buck rams.
Just to get back to it, the Summerfest is on the 25th.
so that's not the 23rd
Yes.
or the 24th.
No,
And-
it's on the 25th.
And the walk challenge
which is
is on
what I
the
agreed
15th
on.
of February, which would be the day after Valentine's Day for people who didn't know when Valentine's Day was. And the entry is free.
Good job, Ray.
Go to the Southeasters page, register on how much water you would like.
Oh wow! So you can actually
You can say, I would like 20 litres, 5 litres. I don't think you need more than 20.
How much are you making?
Well, that'll depend on the registration. So we'll make up to 400 litres. So we'll just make a decision there in the morning and just make a nice pale ale malt, a malt base. Something fairly simple. We want the hops and the yeast to shine through. So we want people to be able to work with that. I know that Beer Guevara has some prizes. I know that there'll definitely be a couple of dinners
Casey.
with me and Troy and Banana Jam.
Can anyone enter?
Well, I'm
Anybody
entering
can
now.
enter. Anybody. Troy, you can even enter.
Dinner with me.
Yeah, dinner with yourself. I know Troy would love that.
Table for one. I want to. Jeez, Mazza, you've gone straight into it.
It's right down there,
I had a
man.
lot of.
Okay, so for
A lot to drink last night.
You were the first one to pour, and I mean, it is all.
I must just say that the label has 2 fine-looking rams on it, and there is a budding goat cult in our office. So this would be a fine addition to the.
Can I ask a little bit more about the budding goat cult? What?
You work for an Australian company.
American company, actually.
How? In what way do they become?
This was, despite my objection, this goat cult has sprung up because of the magical abilities that goats possess, from everything to clinging to vertical dam walls, that is DAM, not DAMN,
Yes.
to just their magical singing ability and everything. So
it's more about gifts and videos than owning.
we have, we have been petitioning.
And befriending.
We have been petitioning for an office pet for a long time, and we were declined on dogs and cats and everything. So we have moved on to the more exotic spiders and goats. I'm solidly in the spider camp.
No.
Like I said, there's a budding goat cult in
You
the
can't
office.
create any sort of relationship with something with 8 legs.
I just don't think you're trying hard enough.
I would go with the goat. You can stand on the window outside.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is- I knew this episode was going to be a
But
bit
come on,
weird
come
with
on,
Greg.
Greg.
And
I can't believe that you say that, yet...
I've owned a goat before.
Yes, but you owned a goat before, but on your wall it says any goats entering the premises will be turned into curry. So
That's why I don't own a goat anymore.
I will add that your goat curry was fantastic.
Ladies
I
and
miss
gentlemen,
the-
I'm just going to turn their microphones off. It is hashtag beer time. It's almost 1 o'clock. I need to have a sip of my beer. Your mic's on, don't worry. We are drinking a Doppelbock, which is best explained as a very strong lager. So what makes it a lager is that it's made with the same type of bottom fermenting yeast. It's just got a lot stronger alcohol and sweeter caramel.
Oh, it's like to
malty.
put like caramel in my lager and then added some vodka.
It's like a toffee stick or
Toffee,
caramel stick.
toffee.
Wilson's toffee.
Yes, very nice.
So this I'm trying to remember what the difference was with this and a Maibach. I think it's the Maibach was the Maibach comes from
That's your
a
box. This is my box.
My book. Your
My
book.
book.
Not your book.
coming from the month of May.
Is it a seasonal thing?
It's a seasonal thing. So January, February, March, April, May, and they used to make it in Germany when it was winter was ending, and they were making a slightly strong beer just to kind of get them through the spring, the cold winter spring, and get them into the summer. So this was style Maibach. I think the Doppelbock is kind of like a brother or sister of those beers.
I used to bring a Maibach in from Rogue. Can you remember what it was?
It was.
No.
I'm asking you because I can't.
I remember you bought the.
No,
Going to win something from Banana
the one
Jam.
with the skull on it, man. The skeleton guy. What's it called? Lucy will know.
Is it the dead guy?
Dead Guy Ale is a Maibach.
Is it?
Yes, Dead Guy Ale is a Maibach.
That is actually one of the
Doesn't
best.
win something from Banana Jam.
No.
Okay, but
Yes, you win.
every time we say Banana Jam, we get a free drink from Banana Jam. That
Yes,
was
that still stands. I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I've only heard Banana Jam 3 times, so I'm in luck.
cheap round.
Literally.
I think last time I was on the show, Troy managed to get up to at least 13.
Wow.
Which he got nothing.
People
You know,
often phone in and they ask, is this show actually sponsored by Banana Jam?
And then they just continuously say Banana Jam until you hang up.
Yeah, but does that mean my time is up to mention Banana Jam?
No, it's
Keep
just
going.
begun.
All right, good.
Guys, what are our thoughts on this beer? It's delicious. Are we
Yeah.
happy?
No, very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. It's a clean. It's simple. It's a little bit strong for lunchtime, but
8 out of 10 wood bang.
Cool. I like your.
I like that analogy.
Okay, guys.
who's going to Clarence?
Let's
I just want to throw that out there because I'm going, and I'm
let's-
taking Afro Caribbean with me.
Guys, let's
I thought you were
talk
gonna say
about events coming up in the 2018 year. I know that there's a lot happening. We can talk about Clarence. We can talk about Fools and Fans. We can talk about. No, this is something else. I'll remember when I get to it. Let's
We're at the
play.
beginning of the year.
Let's
so
play
everything is still
a
going.
country song for our good friend Greg Casey. I'm
The
just trying to
birthday
see what's what.
Oh, we still need to sing for Greg as well.
Hey, Monkey Range.
Monkey Range.
No singing.
It's not a country song, but just play it.
Okay, we'll play Monkey Range and then we'll play. Oh, I've got
It's a good song.
And maybe some
Oh,
Led-
seeing as we had a brown beer,
maybe some Led
let's-
Zeppelin at some point.
And there's a golden stout.
it's a golden stout. There's a brown beer. Okay, guys,
Golden
we
brown.
will see you in about 2 songs' time. We'll have a little break. Enjoy the break.
Okay, bye.
Super session number 2.
Ooh.
It's,
Oh yes, yes. Is that like Obsession?
yeah.
That's a...
It's a super.
Are we back on yet, Troy?
Ooh, look who it is.
Oh, look! You bring the good beers out, and look who arrives.
We are just
Good beer away. Put the
back
good beer
on air,
away.
and then we just had a guest come in. But we can talk and
And introduce.
And
I can
talk and
show you.
introduce.
So I get sit next to Murray.
I get the
You're going to sit next to Murray.
Gosh,
Oh,
I do have a pretty
if you want to sit next to Greg,
Ladies and gentlemen,
No,
You
that's
can take
fine.
a cushion. I need height.
we've just had Sean Duffy walk into the
Oh my
studio.
God, there was a lot in
What
there.
an
Sorry.
absolute pleasure.
Yeah, I took a tiny bit.
What have we got here?
Sean, you just came from French lessons.
Oui, oui.
And the question that I'm sure is on
International-
everyone's mind,
that means he needs to go to the bathroom.
were you giving or receiving?
Yeah. So it's an international beer. Tell us what you think.
Well, I want to know whether... I
the
want to
can.
skip the beer for now and find out.
Sean, the people are
The
listening.
people want to know.
The people are.
It's not a sex argument.
Can everyone hear me like this? Can I lean back?
You will need to lean forward.
So it's this. It's
There's a lot going on here.
There is a lot.
My wife messaged me and said, "Get on the radio and try." He said, "They're just talking. Are we allowed to say shit? Can we say shit?"
I think as soon as
think
Donald
so.
Trump can say it, then we can say it.
Yes. So I'm here to bring things back in order. And I was, to be honest, it was a bit. French it's a different course, and
I'm sure it is.
and I'll tell you this, I was receiving it today. I was a bit lost.
You
But
were
I've left a bit early to come and
so
drink
you
beer.
weren't
What's
doing
a
the course, you
good
were
decision?
receiving the course. That sounds painful.
I don't know what we're talking about.
Ladies and gentlemen, hashtag beer time, T-Bone Troy, coming to you live on Two Oceans Vibe Radio. Live the holiday. I know I am. We've got a record number of people in the studio. We've got Greg Casey, Banana Jam, African, Rody Beer Geek, Sean Daffy from Dissident Brewing Co. and Mazza Middleton from Metal Lane. Guys,
I'm so excited, Sean said now.
hey, let's
Passing it up.
Rody, you've bought 2 beers. Let's
Yes.
crack open that Czech Pilsner that you got.
I did. A mate brought this for me from his holiday in
Czech Republic.
I don't know where that is.
No, I mean, apparently they were a lot
Prague,
of plaid there or something.
Yeah.
Okay, let's crack it. Let's on.
It has a huge cockerel on it. Saison beer, I must be honest, I don't know terribly much about it, so this is going to be an experience for everybody. So,
What have I missed? What are we talking about?
Ooh, we'll stay.
Yeah, shit.
Not much, Sean, not much. So we're about to talk about canning. We just started a conversation about canning, the pros and the cons, and we were talking about DO and not
Really?
not
BO.
not BO. No, that's No, the DO, and
What's the deal?
and bottling and
and not camming the art of brewing naked and streaming it online either. Canning with an N.
camming. Camming, something you never mind.
Camming, yeah. We've seen Cam later on.
That's what you're getting on your birthday.
Yep. Okay, so canning. Afro-Caribbean Brewing Company.
I'm going to ask you to, before you get into it, we
Yes.
need to keep the desk super still.
Oh, we're making a noise.
So
Oh,
we're
bumping.
getting very excited. I hope it's your
Rody's
legs
excited.
that are bumping.
I'm always
Sorry,
very
sorry.
excited. So,
It's pouring, it's
just
pouring.
for the people that can't see, this is Colton Necker Saison. So it's very light in colour, not terribly much
Can
on
I
the
go
nose.
back there slightly?
It's quite malty for a saison. Actually, I mean, maybe it makes sense being from the Czech Republic. Yeah, they do like their malty beers, but it is quite a malty.
But it's effervescent though. It's like it's
very,
very
it's got that
sensitive.
nice yeast. It's a lovely
Yeah.
drink.
Sean, thank
Is
goodness
indeed
you're here. Can you tell us what's a Saison beer?
Saison traditionally is a French seasonal beer.
It's going from French class.
Suddenly everything's French.
No, but it's. I mean, I guess
I'm
it's,
hating the structure. Let's just break this up with it.
No, it's. I mean, long story short, it's a drink meant to imbibe it in the hot weather of France after you're done farming. But I think, I mean, that's kind of the original story. I've missed it a lot. But it does strike me that something has obviously happened to it, because now you get 8% beers, and they're quite rich, full. I mean, they kind of use a Belgian yeast, so you get those kind of those spicy cloves and that kind of sweet banana working together. But they're quite rich. I mean, I would struggle to drink too many after a hard day on the
Hard day
field.
of toil.
on the field.
On your
yeah.
hoplands.
I really like this. I think it's.
This is,
It's
yeah,
more to
Brody,
my
you said this
style
was a little bit old. I'm
of
actually
Saison
very
to-
happy with this. This is.
I was a little bit worried because obviously I didn't know how it was transported. But yeah, I am pleasantly surprised. Very nice.
But I think to give a shout out to a South African brewery, I think that Franschhoek Beer Company does a very good saison. And I am trying to think of a polite way to say it. I was going to say hard on, but that sounds bad.
It's not the first time we've heard that word on the show.
I think Franschhoek Beer Company's beers are all exceptional. I think their saison, which is 8.5%, it will knock you on your ass, but it has so much flavor, so much complexity, and it's really well made, and it's really drinkable. And I think a lot of people who've made saisons here have failed, and even we all love them. Devil's Peak, if we all the older ones remember Silver Tree Saison. It wasn't great. It was okay at the beginning, and then they kept cutting it back, and then it just tasted like a kind of an off lager.
Is that not what comes down to, again, back to the consumer? And that's what they wanted. Or do you think they
Well,
were
no,
just
but they
cutting it
obviously
back
didn't
from-
because then they just said, "Well, screw it, no one's buying it."
No one's
You're gonna
buying
make
it.
it longer.
What's the point in
I
making...
think that's the thing. I think people think it's not selling. Too much flavor.
Yeah.
This is the kind of SAB mentality. Oh, it's too much flavor. And
But I
there's
think
no
we've all
one's gonna
learned
buy
from
it.
that. You know, we now make smaller batches of the more interesting things, and it does sell. You know, you can't make a massive batch and just throw a saison out there when people have never even heard.
Yeah.
Nobody knew back then what a
not
saison
your- it's
was.
not your movie
They bought
beer.
a beer and thought saison was the name. And then they drank it and went, this lager tastes weird. You know, now it's a different story. I think if they brought a saison back, it would do very well.
Yeah.
Well, they have that.
Oh, they
honey
did that.
saison.
The honey saison,
Saison,
yes.
part of the Explorer series. It is exactly that. It's a
Yeah.
smaller batch.
Smaller batch.
Experimental.
Well, actually, no, it's probably the same size batches back then, but because their new brewery is so much bigger. But
Yeah, it's
but
a small batch
there's
for
a
them to
bigger
speak.
market, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think
But
it's important if you're going to bring something new out to don't just throw something out there with no information. One of the most important things you learn, I think, when you try to market something is that if you just give something to
Education,
someone, you need to educate them on what they're drinking or what they're eating or whatever it is, because without education, you don't really know what the hell's going on, do you?
I think it's a change market now as well, because when Devil's Peak first had it, everyone who was getting in thought, I'm going national. Even with their little 600-liter brewery, they were all going national. And now, even Franschhoek Beer Company, the beers are hard to find. In Franschhoek, you can find them, and they got a very nice tap room. But you won't find that in Johannesburg. I mean, same.
I did find them at the spa today.
Yes, there you go.
And I bought a 4-pack of OPA.
There you go.
Just so you
The
know.
Orange Pale, yeah. So, but I think
And it's
that's it.
interesting how like I bought that because I haven't had I think I've had their beers once right in the beginning, but on the recommendation of other people, so many people have started talking about Franschhoek Brewing Company's beers. I went out and bought them specifically today, along with the Hoppy Wheat and one or two other things. But yeah, I think do your product well. You start small, and if you grow naturally, I think it's better for the product and the consumer as well. I suppose.
I think one thing, and it ties into what you said, Sean, as far as the wanting to go nationally. I think focusing locally is more important than aiming nationally, because if you can get a loyal following in your area, you've got that base that you can always rely on, and that comes down to making good beer rather than making,
Mass
weird
market,
and
lager
yeah,
beer.
mass market beer, that
lager,
forcing it
whatever.
on everybody. Yeah.
So starting locally and getting people, it's the Pliny the Elder model where they do no advertising. They've got a great product, and it's all of their demand is driven by people, word of mouth, people wanting the beer simply because it's a good beer, not because they've got a massive marketing budget or the most interesting bottles, or even, I dare say, the world's best beer. I was lucky. I tasted it, and it was good, but it wasn't like the world's best beer.
No.
But it has that loyal following locally that drives the interest and the passion elsewhere. And if you've got that, the sort of demand for people from overseas or nationally or whatever
Sure.
comes naturally.
But I think that's where we're going. I mean, look at Aegir Project in Noordhoek, Soul Barrel in Franschhoek, even I think there's Keghouse in Johannesburg, and I mean Mad Giant.
Yeah.
These are big breweries, but they're seeing actually it's much better and much easier, and you make much more money
Stick to your
to
region.
stick to your region instead of thinking we're going to have this big brewery and a tap room and do this. Especially for the guys who are small like us, to if we don't filter and don't pasteurize, our beers are, I think they're not going to go. I think they're good enough. They're not going to go off. And not everyone can say that, but they're not going to be. If we send our beers to Johannesburg or Durban, they're not going to be the beers that they are here.
Well, just
And
deterioration
they're
is faster because it's a live product. So
You don't have the, following on from what Rolly said, you don't have the manpower as well if you're a small company. You don't have 2, 3, 20 reps to go and look after the brand. So, yeah, I think that's what we are going to start seeing is that the breweries are going to stick to their area and their region, make sure their product is, let's give or take 90 to 100% accurate, and it's going to create that demand, and then from there they'll grow.
Yeah, but it also drives something like a beer tourism, where if I want to really experience,
the product.
the Johannesburg beers, I'm going to go to Johannesburg with a list of breweries that I want to visit.
Sure.
What is wrong with that?
No, well,
I don't think
I
there's anything wrong with that.
last time I was on the
Speaking
show, I
of
said
beer
it, and I'll say it again. Brewpub. Brewpub models are amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
For anyone,
they-
thinking of starting a brewery.
Yeah.
It-
Brewpub.
It's a
Brewpub.
destination experience. You go
Yeah.
there, you experience the great beer, as fresh as it can get out of the taps at the brewery, with possibly a small menu of food that complements that specific beer.
No,
I think what's interesting that when Lucy and I run the brewing courses, and we do have another Brewing Beyond the Basics course coming up in March. If you're interested, if you're
Dates?
looking to get into
25th of March.
We're just picking up.
let me have a look on the old calendar,
Yes.
and I'll get back to that. But I think what's interesting is how many people, and usually it's quite funny that the people who brewed before never want to start a brewery. Everyone who's on the course to start a brewery have never actually brewed before, so they have no idea.
Yeah.
And they all have these ideas that they want to be big and they want to go distribution, they want to go national. And when you say, well, why don't you want to why don't you have a brew pub? And they go, oh, if I have a brew pub, they're gonna have a restaurant. I don't know how to run a restaurant. And probably the greatest quote that Greg's ever given is like, if you don't think you can run a restaurant, you can't run a brewery.
Yeah.
And that's the bottom line. You can't do one, you can't do the other. And then so
We
just
should get shirts made.
That's it.
Okay, guys, there's a lot happening.
A lot.
Hello, ladies and
Time
gentlemen.
is
It's
running
me.
out.
This is T-Bone talking. I know it's quite confusing because there are quite a few people in the studio, but we've got quite a few things happening in the next few weeks. Let's recap. Right. Next week, Saturday, is National Beer Day. What does that mean? Just means that you need to celebrate South African national beer. Just having a good old beer. Can be any, can be craft, mainstream, it doesn't matter. That's next week, Saturday.
There's a whole bunch of events.
Then we've got a whole bunch of events, and this is probably a good time for me to talk about my calendar, but I don't even have one set up that you can go check out. Let's try and remember, we've got the Southeasters next meeting,
Challenge.
Wort Challenge,
Wort
where
Challenge.
you can actually go
15th.
to a Banana Jam in Kenilworth, and you can actually go collect some pre-made worts. You're going to buy some yeast, you're going to buy some hops, and then you can actually ferment it at home and make your own beer,
And then bring it back to the Southeasters Summer Festival,
which is happening
which is in the 25th
5th
of
March.
March. That's it.
And
And there'll be a little competition, win some prizes, but it'll be really cool to see. I think the idea as well is everybody is starting with the same wort. And then this is where beer is so amazing, where you can all have the same wort, but adding different yeasts, different hops, that's going to create a product. The way you ferment your beer, which is so important, that's going to give you certain esters and flavors
Yeah.
that are going to make a good beer, a poor beer, or a great beer. So that's going to be very exciting.
then there's, did you find out the date of your, what's it called, Brewing Beyond the
Brewing
Basics?
Beyond the Basics, yes. So it's the week before Summer Festival from March 16th to the 18th. We have great speakers lined up. Going to talk about all the ingredients of beer. We got JC from Devil's Peak.
And this, sorry to interrupt, this is for people who are thinking about maybe going commercial?
Yeah, I mean, this is
They
by,
wanna- or
this
maybe
is
they
by
just
no
wanna learn
means
a bit
I mean, we call it Brewing Beyond the Basics because it's not a beginner's thing.
No.
If you've never brewed before,
Probably not for you.
you might be a bit lost. We recommend doing the Beer Guevara beginner course first, and then you can come on this. So if you are thinking about going pro, if you're looking at improving your homebrew, we're going to be talking more, I wouldn't say it's not extremely high level, but more mid-level things about how to improve your beer. Because in the end, I mean, the brewing process is a fairly simple one, but it's the little things that can make your beer great, that can make you move from good to great. So it's $21.50 for the weekend, all lunches included. Sunday we go to CBC, and Wolfgang, the master brewer there, takes us on a tour, and he answers any of your questions. And it's held at Banana Jam, so we brew on Africa Beer Brewing Company's system. We brew a beer on Saturday. It's very practical. Everyone gets hands-on.
It's good bang for your buck.
It's good. It's great bang for your buck, if you will. And it, I mean, there's actually quite a few. This is probably done about 12 now. And I mean, actually, there's a good amount of guys who've done this who've then gone to become professional brewers.
gone on to.
Well,
actually-
isn't it? It's pretty much the
Sell the beers and spa?
only basic, like, well, a base course that you can do that sort of covers all the bases in 3 days. You know,
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot to take in, and I can, sometimes.
but it's going to give you an idea. You know, you might sit through the course and go, "God damn, this is the last thing I want to do." But it's going to give you an idea of what it takes to own a brewery or a brew pub or to be a brewer. It's
I mean, it gives you that foundation.
I think a
on
lot of
how to
people in their
brew.
garage
Do
think
you,
it's a simple thing,
do you still
but it's
talk
not.
about your water profile?
I always cover the water. That's my little baby.
Because that's interesting. You actually get to learn about the mineral content of your water. I think that's also quite a...
Yeah, and how it affects
Appropriate thing,
the flavor of the beer. I
What
mean, yes,
water?
you get to
Exactly, what water.
but you get a good
Is there a
background in how.
substitute for water in beer?
Well, there is that wastewater beer, but we won't get into that. But and also just to finish up. You guys are obviously getting bored of me already. Only been here for 20 minutes. No, but Greg does a very good talk on starting a microbrewery, which is quite interesting to hear if someone is interested in that. And we also talk quite a bit about how to improve your own brewing, home brewing or microbrewing.
Let's open that next session IPA that you've got there in the can. Oh, yes. Ooh, which one should you?
Well, since I dropped the one, let's open the other one.
Yes. Okay, so you've got the... tell us what you've got there.
It's in a can.
While you open it in a can... in a can.
I love cans.
While you open the can, there are 2 events that we have to talk about.
Clarence.
We can talk about... Okay, we're going to talk about 3
Three
events. There's the upcoming Clarence Beer Festival, which obviously happens in Clarence, which is in the Free States. It's in the Free States?
It is.
Yeah.
And that's one of the more popular, well-known South African beer fest that's happening. Banana Jam will be there. Afro-Caribbean will be there.
We will.
And that's always a good party, a good fun time. And it's more for the Free States and the Joburg crowd that come and visit there. But I mean, I've
They're
managed...
passionate beer people go there.
I've
It's
driven
one of those
once.
festivals where the people don't just come to drink, they come to try new beers. It's run in a way like Natalie and them run it so that there's always new beers there. You're not just drinking the same beers in the bottle store or the same beers in your brew pub. Ooh, cans. Love cans.
And
Sorry. And so yeah, it's a festival. They booked. Don't bother now. They've booked the whole town out already, probably. And I think the festival's pretty much sold out. But yeah, it's definitely a festival. to go to.
Speaking of cool out of town festivals, let's talk about the Fools and Fans Festival, which is happening in Greyton, and that is the.
I love the segue.
It has to be. No, because we've got so much to talk about.
There is so much to talk about.
There's so much to talk about. Guys, the Fools and Fans Festival in Greyton, which is the 7th of April. That's just all
Why
I'm
is
going
it
to say.
called Fools and Fans?
Because
Talk
it's,
about this, Troy.
yeah,
it's the fools and fans, guys who are absolutely crazy about beer, and the guys who are passionate. So it's fools and fans.
Who are the fools?
Also, the very first one, which was last year, did take place on the 1st of April, which is April Fools. So there is that connection to the beginning of
Thank
April.
you, Rory.
Being the Fools. But it
No,
just
man, I thought the fools were the people who didn't go.
Oh, you know,
Ah,
it is. It's all the fans mocking the
and
fools.
then the fans
for
are
being
mocking
there.
the fools and that. So,
So
again, Afro-Caribbean will be there. Just want to throw that out there.
And Dissident.
I believe,
And
and
Rolly the
Dissident,
Biggie.
and Rolly the Biggie. I believe that Fools and Fans will be the new Clarence of the Western Cape.
That is very kind of you.
It's
to
a
say.
great
agree.
weekend getaway. It's less than an hour and a half away. You've got a town with loads of little upcoming restaurants that are doing some really cool new food ideas that we can pair with the beers.
And it's literally sort of it's a one night stay, and you get an entire weekend without having to
Did you say one night stand?
well, if you play your cards right, you know.
I hope my wife's not listening.
Oh, well, you know what happens in Greyton stays in Greyton. But it's awesome. You drive through on the Saturday morning. You can spend one night in Greyton and drive back on the Sunday, and it's a great getaway with a festival.
It's great.
It's awesome. So
Great.
if you haven't gotten your ticket yet or sorted out your accommodation, get on that because
Guys, let's just wrap it up in terms of the Greyton Festival. Early bird tickets are on sale until the end of the month. Get your early bird tickets. I think it's on Quickets, and that's happening on the 7th of April.
correct.
something else I want to talk about, but let's actually get into this beer before it gets warm. Roly Beer Pants, you've bought us a delicious looking beer in a
Not
can.
beer pants.
They could work if you put on a
Did I-
white beer. If you put on Mr. Beer Pants' pants, then
but
Roly Beer.
Did I just?
I don't have his constant sweater though.
Did I just? Did I just mix you an Aaron up?
Yes, you did.
But don't worry. Apparently, that's
You guys
not
are
the
both-
first time it's happened.
You guys are both great, though.
Oh, we are.
You are.
You've both been on the show.
Roly Beer Geek.
With pants on.
Yes, always.
Not beer pants,
No, just normal pants.
just normal
I've been
pants.
called Beer Man.
What else have we... Wait, we've got to talk about cans. I love
Oh,
cans.
yes, yeah.
Being Troy-
We're drinking beer out of a can.
Yes. Which beer are we drinking out of the can? Let's start
Yeah,
with
what
that.
are we
The
drinking,
last
Troy?
time I invite 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
You didn't invite me.
And there's only 4, not 5. So Troy,
Tell us about this.
yeah. This is the I always pronounce this wrong.
Yeah, I don't know what it is.
Amundsen,
Something like that.
Brauwerke, whatever.
Where they from?
Beerworks.
Beerworks. So this, as far I haven't got my glasses on, so you're asking me. It's like
It's red.
it's red. It's
So
red,
it's squiggly
but
blue.
It's their modern day IPA,
Just
and
get Roly to read all out.
it's going to be a 3-hour podcast, and that's or radio show, soon to be podcast. But it's this can that I've got specifically was brought in by the brewers themselves, but they are now being or going to be brewed out of Devil's Peak, as far as I know. So, we should be able to get these.
How did you get that can?
The brewers smuggled it in their suitcases.
How did you
but
get
how did
that
you
can
get
off
it?
JC? That's what we want to know.
How did I get it? I took a lot of photos and collage.
Oh, yes,
Oh,
he
you
won
won.
it.
at their house.
Okay.
At the Meet the Brewers event at their house.
Roly
So-
wins everything, really. Guys, stop giving him prizes, please.
Please don't stop giving me prizes.
He
It's
really
all I
does
have.
win everything.
Yeah, he does.
Does deserve
Won
it though.
anything.
Well,
Yeah, he
it's,
does.
it's,
Okay,
it is
Yeah, I
well
saw your
deserved.
tweet
Come on,
and you
guys,
said,
it's-
I'm going to give this
But
to
the beer
Bert,
was in a
Rody's gonna
can.
win it anyway.
but come on, guys. It's like fishing. If you haven't got a line in the water, you never win. How many times do you guys, submit something?
Sean did recently and you beat him.
Yeah,
I
but-
sent a tweet last week.
But
I saw
Got me
it.
nothing.
yes, but
I haven't won shit off that
your
tweet.
tweet wasn't terribly good, though.
You won my votes.
What do you? I tweeted. I twatted. Whatever it's called.
Twatted.
Social
Twatted.
media. Sorry. Were there not enough emojis rolling?
There was a distinct lack of emojis and collaging.
Collaging. Yes. I don't.
Their house
How do
loves
you
a
do
collage.
that?
Canning, collaging.
This is a
I
big.
don't know
This is a full-bodied beer. This getting onto the beer.
Yes, the beer.
the beer.
It is full-bodied.
I've finished mine already.
Yeah, I
Chunky.
finished mine as well. It's nice.
It's a almost like a chewy
Yeah.
IPA.
Full. eh?
It's got a little bit of thickness to it.
Very light.
Six,
in
what's it?
colour,
A
but
6.5%.
it's got a lot of flavour.
Feels fucking good.
Yeah.
Is
And,
this then the model for the Devil's Peak collab with them now? Because that's also a modern IPA.
As far as I know, it is, yeah. But one interesting thing about the can is the fact that it actually opens up the entire top of the can, so that you can drink it straight out of the can as you would out
You
of a
get
glass.
the
You get the aroma,
So
I imagine.
you get more of the aroma out than a
but
standard
really,
can.
Dank beer.
don't you get
Yes,
a lot of tinny smells from a can?
Well, since it is more of a micro keg than a can,
No, that's the common misconception that a can tastes
definitely
tinny.
not. There's been a lot of side-by-side comparisons of bottle versus can. I know Brewdog actually did something like that not too long ago, where they brewed from the same batch, and
Yeah.
they bottled half of it and canned half of
Ah,
it,
okay.
and they packaged them together so that you could actually
Yeah.
taste the difference between bottle and can. And I think the general opinion from the brewers, and we've got a couple of brewers here, so you guys correct me if I'm wrong, is that everybody's moving towards canning because they feel it's more representative of what is straight out of the tanks. So,
But there's just the common misconception. I know when we did the hop tour last year, you were involved in the conversation. I think we were all there. And Wolfgang was talking about how they struggled with the pale ale because everyone says as soon as he opens and he says gives it to someone, they say
it's like tinny, it's metallic, and it's complete bullshit. There's no tinny metallic
Not at all.
at all in contact with the beer. He said something about their actual. Yeah, I don't know.
I think it's obviously a perception issue.
Yeah.
You know, even
No,
when
it
I
is.
was growing
It
up in
is, yeah.
Canada, the idea of a can, and there were a lot of cans there, was seen as inferior to a bottle. But that said, even and I never understood it, but people would go to a bar and they would buy a bottle of a draft, if you had Coors Light or some other crappy North American beer, tastes like swill. Sorry, I'm not bitter. But they would buy the bottle for a 330ml bottle for more than I would pay for a pint, because they would go, I prefer a bottle, and there was no reason they should. I mean, the bottles are inferior to draft. It's an older beer, it's pasteurized but it's just a perception.
Yeah, but what? Sorry, really. I mean, I know I went for dinner the other night, and I was thinking of this, and I looked into the fridge. It's just bottles in restaurants. How many restaurants do you go into, and there's a can option?
Because no one puts stuff in can.
No.
No, but SAB.
No,
you mean mainstream stuff.
Even SAB. So why? I mean, is it just a classier thing? Is it a prestige thing to go out for dinner? Know that you get in a glass.
It's the whole
Serving.
clinking of the cap. That sort of.
In South Africa, we've been
Yeah.
taught certain things. So obviously, with having one brewery dictate to us for how many 100 years or 100 years, we've learned certain things. The amount of people who say to me, "Oh yeah, no, canned beer tastes like metal." I'm like, you are aware that the beer on tap is in a big can in my fridge? And then they will look at me and go, "Oh." And they're like, "Why does it taste better in draft?" I said, "Because someone told you that and you believe them." We also for years believed that they used to make Castle Light in 2.5 days. You know,
At
it was
minus
like,
degrees.
yeah, it's cold brewed.
Yeah.
But
We
it's,
boil
you know,
it.
again, it comes down to marketing.
Yeah.
People were told that cans weren't as good as bottles, and there was no one else to tell them anything else, so they believed it.
Yeah. But one of the biggest sort of enemies of any beer is sunlight, and a bottle is glass. If a bottle is left in direct sunlight, which sometimes happens in a bottle store if it isn't properly handled, that can instantly change the taste of the beer. You get skunked beer when it goes off. Your cans don't allow sunlight in, which means the possibility of getting that sunlight, your beer in contact.
But brown bottles are usually pretty good.
Pretty good, but cans are pretty better. You know, you
I think they're pretty.
pretty better.
Really.
But you know, it is a can. The aluminum can is better at preventing the sunlight. Contact with
it prevents
UV.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is no sunlight in a can.
There is no sunlight.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
We were actually chatting about this at Stellenbosch Brewing Company this weekend at their. You were there, weren't you?
no, I wasn't
At
there.
their stout tasting and things like that. And
That was Mr. Beer Pants, I think.
Mr. Beer Pants was there, yes.
We're often beers.
Are you?
Confused again.
Both, all you beer people look the same to me. Anyways, but Bruce was saying, but what he didn't get, and it does make sense. I've also thought the same thing, and we'll see how our kind of goes at ACDC. Is how do you stop oxygen from going into the can? There's this whole idea that we'll purge it with with O2, CO2, and then we'll fill it. We'll have the foam, then we'll put the lid on. And that will get rid of all oxygen. But we do the same thing with bottles. Now, the only thing I can think is that the can seamer, if it's done correctly, is much tighter than a bottle would be. So a bottle would allow minuscule amounts of oxygen in, which means over time you do get an oxidized beer. It means remember we've had those beers on your shelf at Banana Jam. They're like 11 or 12 years old. And they're fine, but they're just oxidized. And I wonder if the can would be the same thing, or if that seal is kind of oxygen.
No, I think you'll still get oxidation in cans. I think the problem in South Africa with a lot of bottles is that a R1 million or 2 million rand bottle filler doesn't have a spear that goes in the bottle.
It does.
But it pushes the environment that it's in. It is able to take all the oxygen out of the bottle and fill it and not leave oxygen in the top, that little space. You know what I mean? So a lot of the bottle fillers you get here have a spear that goes right in the bottle. When it pulls out, it pulls oxygen into the beer, into the bottle, and then that's capped in there. And that oxygen is the whole.
But why won't the canner do that? When you put the spear in, Greg, and then you pull it up, surely it's gonna be the same thing.
Well, think about it. Like that's the can is much wider, so there's less drop. But when you pull the spear out, there's a lot less.
Displacement.
The replacement in a bottleneck is a lot more when you pull the spear out than in a can. Number one, and then again, that foaming up of the can does make a difference.
But we do that with bottles.
But I'm not saying that cans are going to be better. I'm not going to say that Dio is going to be less.
I see my numbers dropping.
I don't.
Yeah.
How many people?
It's a girth issue, in other words.
Yes, it's a girth issue.
Let's
move on.
Can we just summarize that? We're talking about cans. And whether the difference between a can and cake, but at the end of the day, it's a personal preference. If you want a can,
I think in the end, it does probably come down to perceptions that cans are cool now.
Yeah, we're going to start seeing.
We put cool beer in
more
cans, and that's why we're going to see more. Because also if you go to Roland or Claremont Liquor City or any of the biggest little beer shop, and you look at the fridge, and everyone has the 440 little console bottle that goes down to the sides. Very few people have a different bottle, so they all kind of look the same. Yeah. You put a can in there, instantly your eye goes to it, especially the very good
stands
label.
out.
Yeah, but even if you don't have a label on it, the can stands out, and I think that will be a big factor.
Yeah.
Speaking of cans, what you got there ready? Just tap it before you open it.
A Session Drops IPA.
It is not just a session IPA. It is a super session
7,000
number 2. So this is Super Session number 2 from Lawson's Finest Liquids.
Lawson's
Finest Liquids.
Lawson's Finest Liquids. Friend of mine brought this from the States. Apparently it's got something like a 98% rating on Rate Beer. Their Sipper Sunshine is one of the few 100% rated beers. So by comparison, it's poorer cousin.
I had Sip of Sunshine once. Just saying.
You didn't mention it as one of your best beers.
No.
Crack that open. So, guys, we've got this beer, we've got that beer, and we've got one more beer that we need to go.
Oh, that sounded good.
That sounded very good.
I shotgun a little bit more than I had of the last beer.
So, guys, something else that I want to talk about is the upcoming hop tour.
Ooh,
so
highlights of the year.
Every year I organise a hop tour to the George region.
I'm in.
And we go. Please, no, come on, share. And we just basically go to the SAB hop farms and they teach us and show us everything there is to know about hops. They're actually very open. They have a very open door approach at the SAB hop farms. And it's going to be our 3rd year.
When is it?
It's going to be in March. It's going to be busy. It's
going to be busy.
March is going to be busy, but
we've mentioned March
so
more
many
times than there are days in March.
But it'll be the hop season is usually February, March. So just depends when they're harvesting. But it's something beautiful. I mean, you guys have been
fantastic. It's just a
Can you wait for me till I get back from Clarence and then I can come with you?
When is Clarence again?
End of February.
Okay, we'll wait.
Around the 20th, 23rd, I think. Weekend of the 23rd.
Yeah.
Thank you for the super session.
Super Session
it's
number
super.
2.
Super.
It's far lighter bodied than the last. It is only 4.8%.
Yeah, they're definitely sessionable.
I like that.
Yeah. It is nice. It's also got a very pungent dankness to it.
Dank beers. When are we going to get some dank beers in South Africa? We're starting to get some stinky beers, but I think it's just a question of brewing process.
Yeah.
Using that.
It's definitely one of those beers that you probably spend as much time sniffing as sipping.
Yeah, but you have to spend the money on the hops then. Not everyone wants to spend money on hops.
Okay, so you're saying it's actually spending money on hops and not the brewing process.
I think it's also getting quality fresh hops as well. I think a lot of the hops that we're getting here from the States are.
No, they're definitely not as fresh.
Well, no, they're definitely not as fresh, but they're not as fresh even. I mean, compared to what people get in Europe, we're having old stock. We're having old stock from Europe.
And,
Yeah.
and we're not
16,
talking
yeah,
only
15.
about getting the actual solid hops. We're just talking about getting the hop pellets sooner.
Yeah,
From time they get pelleted to the
Yeah.
time they go into the beer, shortening that time.
I'm just going to fix your
vibe.
put it there. Yeah, let's just see what this.
They haven't heard us for the last half an hour.
Yeah, your mic's been off. No, I'm just gonna,
That's probably
this,
for the best.
It's just irritating me that this microphone is so sensitive.
Have we got the scratchy mic again?
It's so sensitive. Okay,
we
just
played
keep
any.
very still.
Have we played any Brian
very
Adams?
quiet.
Would you like some Brian Adams?
Well, that was the stipulation of me coming on, is that you would play Brian Adams.
So you were only going to come if Brian Adams was played.
We only have 15 minutes to play Brian Adams. And
Well,
we'll talk about
15
all the
minutes,
other-
that's about everything I do. I do it for you. That's about the length.
Guys,
Is it because
Were
he's
you talking
Canadian?
directly to me there?
guys, just be careful to shake this table and stuff like that.
That's all Sean.
I don't know where it's coming from. I think it also might be me, but anyway. How unfortunate is that there's an artist called Ryan Adams.
Who is
Brian
that?
Adams is
Brian
great,
Adams.
though. He's great.
He is
No,
great.
he's
I
later,
back
but
him- I back him more than Brian
How unfortunate
Adams.
is that you've got Brian Adams and Ryan Adams.
He
Yeah.
probably should change his name
He-
because it's hard. I mean, it's
It's
like
hard to come up against Brian
but-
Adams.
Yeah.
But
He is
but
younger.
You're just saying that because Ryan Adams, as far as I know, is not Canadian.
it has nothing to do with nationality, bro. It has to do with pure raw talent.
Yeah, but the fact that Brian Adams is Canadian. Yeah, right.
He's
So it's
he's an
Justin
amazing
Bieber.
musician. Yeah, so is Justin Bieber. You don't see me.
Next beer.
Yeah, I mean, next we are moving on.
Should we? Is that the Russian Imperial Stout that we've got there?
I kind of like his Justin Bieber's new stuff, though. I must admit.
Jeez.
Of course you do.
I'm a fan.
I think his new stuff. I mean, to be fair, he's actually a talented Canadian mofo.
We need to open
And
this
Drake?
beer.
Drake,
as
I
quickly
know.
as possible.
I
What
only know
is
him
that?
from. Well, I've only heard that he was on
RIS.
Degrassi
RIS.
Junior High, and for me, Degrassi and any Canadian out there is. It's like, yes, we know Degrassi. I don't know if Troy, does your family know about
Sean's
Degrassi?
mic off.
Can you turn
No.
Sean's mic off?
Or at least don't.
He's not talking about Justin Bieber.
You can talk about Bieber.
This is not hashtag Bieber time.
Let's.
I think Sean Duthie is a believer.
I do think
Hashtag beer Lieber.
Hashtag no.
I'm just trying to get beer into there. I don't know what we're talking about.
Okay, guys. It seems like we are having a bit of a.
Yeah, well, let's just go on to like this beer.
No, we'll open this.
No.
What should we open?
No, let's
No,
open
no,
Hop Dead Head.
We're gonna have it's a bit of a hoppy show. We've got a bit of a hoppy theme. So this is my third beer that my wife has brought me from Germany. It's called Hophead IPA 7. It's an American IPA. It's 8%. It's made by Kraftwerk Brewing, and again, it has a whole bunch of German on the back, which I have.
Can you
no
attempt it?
It does has yeah.
Das Hass.
Cascade, Centennial, Chinook, Hercules, Taurus, Magnum, and Simcoe.
They couldn't have put more in. They could not have put another one in.
Not.
There. They would have had a super saturated hop.
If only Sean had just come from a German class, then he could have read the back of the bottle. No, he has to do French class.
Ooh.
So, one of the interesting things that I did this month is your One Hop Wonder beers that you have at
Yes.
Banana Jam.
What a wonder.
Yeah,
And?
I thoroughly enjoyed it. You basically got the same malt backbone, but you changed the hops in them. So it was the
Yeah.
the Galaxy.
Sean didn't like it, but you
I
know,
thought the Galaxy was great.
we don't really care what Sean thinks. He's just so
Jay's
excited.
an asshole. He was like,
He's from Justin Bieber.
Yeah, I thought it was a nice idea. I think we are going to do another one with some South African hops, if I'm correct, Sean.
We'll
We
get
have
Will we
ordered-
get a Chinook version?
Yes, we can do a Chinook version just for you, Roland. We call it Rolly's Chinook. One hop wonder.
Guys, I'd like to point out, we've got 10 minutes left of the show. Some people are either rejoicing or hopefully most people are quite sad and upset that the show is coming to an end. I'm definitely the latter. I always enjoy these shows. It's been great fun.
It doesn't feel like 2 hours.
Guys,
I know,
this-
it does. It's amazing.
Yes.
how 2 hours goes into
There's so much. coming on in the next few weeks. But Greg, I want to hear more from you. Believe it or not, it's your birthday.
We still haven't sung
It is.
for you.
Yeah, no one's sung yet. No cake.
What?
We haven't sung for
No
you. We
cake.
haven't sung.
Oh, yeah, what do you want to hear
have
from
your
me?
cake.
We've only got 10 minutes and I can talk a lot.
I want to know a little bit more about your industry day that you're having.
Yeah.
Oh, industry night.
Talk about canning.
Yeah, we'll talk about canning too. On industry night. Yeah.
Are you guys having an
happening?
industry night? What are you talking
Okay.
about? What's the plan?
So, obviously, I'm in brewing and I'm in the restaurant business, and I know a lot of people who make beer, like beer, want to buy beer. And it's something when I was over in New York, I went to an industry night at Finback, and invite only.
Ooh.
But-
Must throw that in there.
Black
just
tie.
wanted to say that, so just get on my email and be nice to me. No, the idea is about getting the right people together, be it brewers and people who supply equipment, product for brewing. It's about getting the guys from restaurants, bottle stores, bars, together with the brewers. You know, a lot of the time you get a rep comes in, he gives you a beer and goes, "This is the best beer ever, try this." And you get 3 a day. So it's a bit difficult to pick and choose. So it's nice in more of a relaxed environment where you can chat to the brewers themselves, maybe get to see bar owners and get feedback from, it's not just bar like bar owners wanting to get knowledge on beer. I think a lot of it is brewers and people who own breweries wanting to get a little bit of feedback from the guys in the bars, the restaurants and bottle stores, and what people are buying, why they're buying it.
Do you remember Denanka had a similar kind of day? I think it was 2 years ago.
Yes.
Where they just had a whole bunch of brewers in their waterfront branch or in their restaurants. And it was basically a day for the trade to come
Guys
and
to
meet.
get together, yeah.
And
I think it's important,
we need that.
Collaboration
Yeah.
brews are really important. We've always got something to learn from each other. So I know a lot of brewers get together, they make a beer together, and a lot comes from that. You get guys getting out of their comfort zones, things like that. And I think it needs to happen more like a broader spectrum of that. Getting the industry guys together, trying to come up with good, cool ideas to move the consumer like more towards craft. So, it's collaborations, not just between brewers and restaurants and brewers and bars. And hopefully something good will come of it. So,
Seems like there's always something happening at the jam.
we like to use our upstairs for fun.
Yes.
Beer is fun, craft beer is fun, tasting different beers is fun. So, and there's nothing I like more than fun.
I think your middle name is fun. Speaking of fun,
Yes.
what are your plans for 2018? What are your thoughts and visions for craft beer? But bear in mind, you only have about 20 seconds. Your time begins now.
Okay. Well, there are a lot of festivals, and obviously one of the ones that I'm really excited about is the Greyton one. I'm booked and ready for that. But personal sort of ambitions, beer-wise, for the year, definitely want to get my first brew experience under my belt.
Ooh.
And the
War Challenge.
South Yeasters War Challenge is, I think, the perfect sort of jumping off point as far as that goes. Other than that, just want to sort of, get more involved in the craft beer culture that we have here. It's one of the most welcoming and sort of friendly, nice cultures that we have in Cape Town.
Most of the guys are friendly.
Yeah, most of the guys.
99.9%.
There's always one or two.
Yeah, but those guys generally get moved out fairly quickly. But I think we can all sort of attest to the fact that it is as much a family and a group of friends as it is an industry. So, sort of doing my part to further that, to drive it forward, and to sort of contribute to it in whatever way I can. That's my sort of ambition or goal for 2018. So.
Well, as I thank you very much for that. As I said on my show 2 weeks ago with Steph, my vision for, I think Shay asked the question, what are the three outlooks or predictions for 2018? my one prediction was the rise of social media, the rise of craft beer fans, people pushing the voice of craft beer. So I think that's definitely going to happen this year. So yeah, I would just encourage you to keep going with that. You're doing a fantastic job.
Thank you.
Just keep going, and also a shout out to the rest of the Tasting League captains. Whoever's listening, you know who you are. Keep it up. Keep posting stuff. We're starting to get a lot more guys now who are just posting.
Yeah.
Speaking of social media,
I just twat.
You just twatted.
is that the hashtag of tweet?
I think it is.
Is it not?
I'm a huge
Why
fan
is
of that.
it? Why is it
I'm
very
a huge
laughing?
fan of
Is
that.
it not?
Sean, what are your hopes and dreams for 2018? Or predictions?
Beer-wise.
Beer-wise, yes.
Well, I was going to say my big thing for 2018 is I have entered the World Beer Cup. Dissident Golden Ale is going to America.
Fantastic.
So to go to the World Beer Cup, I'm going to get my ass kicked by all these American amazing pale ales. But I'm going to go in. It's going to be a great experience. I'm looking forward to the feedback. And Lucy is judging at the World Beer Cup.
Isn't that bias?
Sorry?
Isn't there a little bit of bias? If
Well, there's something like 10,000 beers there, so I think the chance of her getting mine
Yeah, she
is
just
slim
drinks.
to none.
She drinks at least 9 every night just to dial in.
But I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to chatting beer in Nashville with everyone
Yeah, that'll be
and seeing
awesome.
what they think of the beer.
Yeah.
And there's quite a few. So there's
When is that? July, June?
no, that's end of April, beginning of May.
Well, best of luck to you.
Yeah,
We at
fantastic. Good luck. We
Hashtag Beer
all-
Time wish you nothing but the best of luck.
I'll cheers to that.
Yeah, let's cheers to that.
Yeah,
go.
And on that note, we are drinking a very special beer, Mr. Greg. I've been looking forward to this. Tell us about it.
Power.
No.
It's our Cold War stout.
That's nice.
It's a Russian Imperial
2016?
stout.
What is a Russian?
2016.
What's a Russian Imperial Stout? Sorry.
10.5%. Russians drink it. There is a story behind Russian Imperial Stout.
It's basically a stout with a lot of more alcohol sweetness.
What are you going to say with Russians? No. The story is
Beer vodkas involved.
I think there are a few different stories, but Sean, you're more of a beer expert than I. One of the Tsar's daughters,
The story I know
It was
is
a-
that the Tsar went and visited one of his sort of cousins or something in the UK, and they amped up one of their stouts
to be much higher in alcohol.
to be much higher in alcohol to survive the trip back to Russia, and that sort of amped up basically everything because they're more into the hard liquors, the vodkas and stuff. So that's
That's
story
one of
I-
the stories.
that's a story I know.
To be honest, it's the big ass stout.
Oh yeah, tasty,
Power.
delicious.
It's delicious.
Now it's got a bit of an oaky character.
Barrel.
So you barrel age it. Can you
6
just tell the people
to 8 months in barrel.
what that entails?
Putting it in a barrel.
They're,
What kind of barrel?
they're
What barrel?
refurbished
Refurbished.
barrels from there. So there's refurbished wine, whiskey, and brandy barrels. They take the different staves and make a. So they take the big barrels and they make a smaller one.
They recharge.
They do recharge. So it is interesting. I think this was actually a second fill. Did we get it recharged?
No, we just got it cleaned.
Okay, so very clean. So this is actually a second
That's
fill, so
nice.
it's not as
Intense
Not as
as
intense,
the
yeah.
original.
Yeah.
And would this have been a mix of sort of the
Staves?
whiskey staves?
Yeah.
So
And
it-
so
it
you
isn't
pick
sort
up
of
a little bit of red wine, you pick up a little bit of like those boozy characters from the
and
whiskey
how many
barrels.
times can you use a barrel before you need to recharge it or before you need to discard it?
I think the issue is after a while you don't get anything from the barrel. You can put it in, but no one would ever.
You're
use
just
it.
getting
Maybe a bit of
characteristics
woodiness.
of the previous film.
Yeah, well, yeah, or you're just oxidizing it.
2016, I didn't like it 4 months ago. I think it's much better now. And this is the great thing about a barrel-aged beer or a beer you can age, because if you think about it, not all beers you can age, but barrel-aged beers are quite nice to age and things like that. So come and try 14, 15, 16, and 17 will be out in 3 months.
So
at
people
Banana
can
Jam.
buy this at Banana Jam. Only
And
at
that's Spar.
And 14, 15, and 16 will probably be available at Spa in Rosemead Avenue on Friday.
And one interesting, can I add an interesting
Yes, you may.
bit? So the original one of this, when Greg and I were still homebrewing in his garage,
2013.
2013, we made this beer, put it in a barrel, and then entered it into the Devil's Peak, the inaugural Devil's Peak homebrew competition, and we won. So this is an award-winning recipe.
Just
Yes.
throwing that out there. Well done, Sean.
I think I've said this on the show before. I have a handful of beers that I'm aging, keeping for a special occasion. Your 2015 bottle is one of those beers that's just
Yeah, I have a 2015 bottle hidden in a dark corner as well.
What about 14 and 16?
14 is drinking very nicely.
I'm gonna
And
have
I
to
don't
fill
say
out
that
my
it
collection.
sounds like a wine douche, but it is.
guys.
That's
Can-
it.
On that.
Can you believe it?
Finishing
It's
up.
2 o'clock.
Can. I love cans.
Tell us about cans.
Cans. Okay, so cans, right?
Bottle,
I'm
you
telling
believe it? Mr. Mazza, always a pleasure having you co-host the
Good to
show.
be here.
You bring a certain je ne sais quoi. What does that mean?
After party at Metal Lane, 25 minutes.
Okay, so Greg, listen.
No, keep quiet outside.
We're not going to sing to you, but instead we're going to play you a song, a birthday song.
Is it Brian Adams?
There's Nelly the Elephant there on the playlist, which is insane.
Wait,
On the right.
Nelly the Elephants.
Yeah, Nelly the...
Guys,
No, we're not gonna
streamline
play
this. You've
Nelly
got like,
Yeah.
we're over by 2 minutes.
No, okay, we are. We need to be out here
The
soon
next
for
verse is kicking on
the
the door.
next show.
No, I think that whoever was after the show decided they don't want to be after anymore because it always stinks of beer. And we're always
Beer and
late.
burps.
We're always late, yeah.
Rolly,
Yes.
absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for being here. You need to be back here again.
Anytime.
We've got a lot of requests. People, a lot of the ladies saying, "Yeah, we want this Rolly character back on."
I have a voice for radio.
Yes, you definitely do. Sean
Well, that's him.
Sean Duthie.
What are people saying about me?
It's a
They
bit
want to
of,
hear more about water. Tell me about my pH, baby.
that's about the mineral content.
Tell me about how...
Sean, thank you very much for joining us for the last part of the show. I think we need to have a good old sit down with you, just you on the show. Maybe we need
I'll
the
come off
education. We need the education of
I don't
Sean
know,
Duthie, talking about water. It's quite a popular subject at now in Cape Town. And then, of course, Mr. Greg Casey, happy birthday.
Cheers, everyone.
Cheers, everyone. We're going to say goodbye to everyone. Thank you for everyone watching on the webcam. Thank you, everyone, for listening. We'll play out with a song that, Greg, just happy 44th. It's very special. And, ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you next week. We hope you enjoy the rest of your week. See you soon. Ciao, ciao.
Believing. No one knows the words after that.
Hold on to
Oh, you're
that.
feeling.
That's something feeling.
Thanks for listening, guys and girls. Make sure to follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Just search for #BeerTime. That's #BeerTime written out in full. Hope you enjoyed the show, and check you next time. Cheers.